I rushed home from work that rainy October evening. My adoptive mother, Mrs. Miller, was coming all the way from Ohio for my birthday. She'd called earlier, worried about the storm. "Maya, honey, I made it to the city safe. Don't you worry about this rain. Mom, please just get inside when you arrive. Julian should be home early today. I brought those apples from our orchard, the ones you love. And Grandma's quilt I've been working on all year. Mom, you didn't have to bring anything. Just having you here is perfect." My heart felt so warm. After 30 years, Mrs. Miller still treated every birthday like a celebration. She'd taken a 12-hour bus ride just to see me. But when I pulled into our driveway, something was wrong. The front door was open. Rain was pouring onto the marble steps. And my mother-in-law Victoria was standing in the doorway like a guard. "Where have you been? I've been dealing with your situation for an hour." "My situation?" Victoria's face was twisted with disgust. "That woman who claims to be your mother. Standing on our doorstep like some homeless person." My blood went cold. "Where is Mrs. Miller?" "Gone." Finally. I told her this neighborhood has standards. I ran past Victoria into the rain. Down the street, I could see a small figure hunched under a bus stop. Mrs. Miller sat there soaking wet, clutching her torn quilt. Her basket of apples was scattered across the pavement. "Mom." She looked up with tears mixing with rainwater. "I'm sorry, honey. I shouldn't have come." "What did she say to you?" She said. Mrs. Miller's voice broke. She said her son's wife has no real mother. Only the pedigree they created for her. That's when Mrs. Miller reached into her wet coat. She pulled out a small velvet pouch I'd never seen before. "Maya, there's something I never told you. About the day we found you." Inside that pouch was a tiny silver pendant. The same constellation pattern as my platinum necklace. But this one was real. Original. And on the back, tiny markings that would change everything. "This was around your neck when you were 3 years old. And these numbers, they're coordinates." Victoria thought she was throwing out a peasant. But she had just awakened a sleeping queen. If you're hearing this story, tell me in the comments. Where in the world are you listening from? Before we begin today's story, please don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Now let's get started. The morning sun streamed through tall windows. Maya Whitmore sat at the marble counter. Her pill organizer lay open before her. Tuesday compartment. Blood pressure medication. Vitamin D. The routine felt different today. Her platinum North Star necklace caught the light. The constellation pattern sparkled against her silk blouse. She touched the pendant gently. Her adoptive father's words echoed. "This is a replica of the tiny silver star you wore when we found you. Never take it off." Maya reached for the mail stack. Bills. Charity requests. Then something unexpected. A Medicare EOB form. Her name printed clearly at the top. Her coffee grew cold as she read. The charges showed dementia screening, neurological assessment. Last Tuesday. She remembered that day perfectly. She had been at the gallery, working on the Hoshino exhibition. No doctor visit. Her hands trembled slightly. Why would Medicare think she needed dementia testing? Who ordered this screening? The paper felt heavy between her fingers. Footsteps echoed from the hallway. Julian appeared in the doorway. Her husband looked tired. His usually pressed shirt was wrinkled. Dark circles shadowed his eyes. "Morning," he mumbled. He moved toward the newspaper stack. Maya watched him carefully. Julian slipped something beneath the morning paper. A flash of official letterhead. Red text. The words, "Notice," and "Default," caught her eye before he covered it. "Julian, what was that?" "Nothing important. Bank paperwork." His voice carried a strange edge. Maya had heard that tone before. During the gallery's financial crisis. When creditors called daily. When sleep became impossible. The kitchen door swung open. Victoria Whitmore entered like a storm front. Maya's mother-in-law moved with practiced authority. Her gray hair was perfectly styled. Her Chanel suit was immaculate. Victoria's sharp eyes found Maya's necklace immediately. Her lip curled in familiar disgust. "Still wearing that metal scrap? It's as fake as your pedigree." The words hit like cold water. Maya's hand instinctively covered the pendant. The platinum felt warm against her palm. Real. Solid. More genuine than anything else in this house. Victoria continued her morning inspection. She examined the marble counters. Checked for dust on the chandelier. Her presence filled the kitchen like expensive perfume mixed with disapproval. Maya studied the Medicare form again. The diagnostic codes meant nothing to her. But the implications were clear. Someone thought her mind was failing. Someone had scheduled tests without her knowledge. Victoria, did you know about this? Maya held up the paper. Her mother-in-law barely glanced at it. Know about what, dear? This Medicare billing. For dementia screening. Victoria's expression didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. A brief satisfaction, like a chess player who had just moved a crucial piece. Perhaps it's routine testing. For someone your age. The dismissal stung. Maya was 62, sharp, professional. She had spent 30 years building the Whitmore Fine Arts reputation. Her memory was better than most people half her age. Julian folded his newspaper loudly. The hidden document crinkled beneath. Maya, you're overthinking this. But Maya wasn't overthinking anything. She was finally paying attention. The Medicare form. Julian's secretive behavior. Victoria's knowing look. Pieces of a puzzle were falling into place. She touched her necklace again. The North Star pattern reminded her of navigation. Of finding true direction when everything else was confusing. Her adoptive father had been a sailor. He taught her about stars. This necklace, Maya said quietly, is the only honest thing in this kitchen. Victoria's laugh was sharp. Honest? That trinket came from some charity shop. Just like you did. The cruelty was casual. Practiced. Victoria had perfected the art of small cuts. Death by 1,000 insults. Each comment designed to remind Maya of her place. But today felt different. Maya's grip tightened on the Medicare form. The paper represented something bigger than medical billing. It was evidence of a plan. A scheme she was only beginning to understand. Julian stood abruptly. I need to get to the office. He kissed Maya's cheek quickly. His lips felt cold. Distracted. As he passed Victoria, they exchanged a look. Brief. Meaningful. Like conspirators confirming a shared secret. Maya watched them through the kitchen window. Julian's expensive car pulled away from the curb. Victoria disappeared upstairs to her private study. The house fell quiet except for the grandfather clock's steady rhythm. She spread the Medicare paperwork on the marble surface. The morning light made every detail visible. Billing codes. Doctor names she didn't recognize. Appointments she never made. Her reflection appeared in the polished granite. The woman looking back seemed older than yesterday. More suspicious. The platinum North Star necklace sparkled at her throat. A beacon in increasingly dark waters. Maya thought about her adoptive father's last words. Trust the stars when you can't trust the ground beneath your feet. At the time, she thought he was being poetic. Now she wondered if he was being practical. The kitchen felt colder despite the sunshine. The expensive appliances seemed less impressive. Even the fresh flowers on the windowsill looked artificial. Everything in this house was beautiful. Carefully arranged. Perfectly maintained. But nothing felt real anymore. Maya folded the Medicare form carefully. She would keep it safe. Study it. Figure out who was playing games with her medical records. Who thought her mind was worth testing. The morning routine continued around her. Coffee cooling. Pills waiting. The grandfather clock marking time with mechanical precision. But something fundamental had shifted. The foundation of her life was cracking. Like old plaster under pressure. The Medicare statement felt like a death warrant for her sanity. But Maya Whitmore was not ready to be declared incompetent. Not by Medicare. Not by Victoria. Not by anyone. She touched her necklace one final time. The North Star pattern caught the light. Her adoptive father had chosen this design carefully. Stars were for navigation. For finding home when everything else was lost. Maya suspected she would need all the navigation she could get. The kitchen fell silent. The morning sun climbed higher. And somewhere in the distance, the sound of expensive cars carried other people to their perfectly arranged days. But Maya remained at the marble counter. Surrounded by questions. Armed with evidence. Ready to discover what was really happening to her life. The silver star around her neck glinted like a promise. Or perhaps like a warning. Maya's office at Whitmore Fine Arts hummed with quiet efficiency. The air conditioning created a steady drone. Fluorescent lights cast everything in clinical brightness. Her mahogany desk was organized perfectly. Client files arranged by priority. Coffee growing cold in a porcelain cup. The morning's Medicare mystery had followed her to work. Questions multiplied like shadows. Who ordered dementia testing? Why hadn't anyone told her? The answers felt important, urgent. Maya opened her desk drawer to retrieve her appointment book. Her fingers searched for the familiar leather binding. But something was wrong. The space where her Medicare card usually rested was empty. She searched deeper. Insurance documents, business cards, emergency contact information. Everything except the red, white, and blue Medicare card she had carried for 2 years. Looking for something? Maya turned. Victoria stood in the office doorway. Her mother-in-law moved like she owned the building. Which, technically, she did. The Whitmore Family Trust controlled the gallery's lease. My Medicare card is missing. Victoria's smile was thin. Perhaps you misplaced it. Memory lapses happen at your age. The comment stung. Deliberate. Calculated. Victoria never said anything accidentally. Every word was a chess move. Maya continued searching. File cabinets. Desk drawers. The small safe behind her diploma. Nothing. The Medicare card had vanished like morning mist. I'll need to call the Social Security office, Maya said. Of course, dear. Though they're quite busy these days. Victoria's tone suggested Maya would be wasting everyone's time, including her own. The older woman moved toward the window. Her reflection multiplied in the glass panels. Maya reached for the phone. The Social Security automated system answered immediately. Press 1 for benefits. Press 2 for Medicare. Press 3 for account information. She pressed 3. Please enter your Social Security number. Maya typed the 9 digits she had memorized decades ago. The system paused. Electronic music played softly. I'm sorry, that number is not associated with an active account. Maya tried again. Same numbers. Same careful entry. The result was identical. I'm sorry, that number is not associated with an active account. Her pulse quickened. Social Security numbers don't just disappear. They're permanent, lifelong identifiers, like fingerprints or DNA. Maya hung up and dialed again. This time she waited for a human representative. The hold music was cheerful, optimistic, the opposite of how she felt. Social Security Administration, this is Jennifer. How can I help you? My Social Security number isn't working in your system. I see. Let me check that for you. Can you provide the number? Maya recited the digits slowly. Clearly, Jennifer typed in the background. Ma'am, this number is currently enrolled in a family management fund. All benefits are being directed to an authorized representative. What does that mean? It means someone has legal authority over your Social Security benefits. A family member or court-appointed guardian. The words hit like physical blows. Guardian, legal authority, someone else controlling her benefits. Maya gripped the phone tighter. Who is the authorized representative? I'm sorry, ma'am. I can only provide that information to the account holder or their legal representative. I am the account holder. According to our records, you are currently under a family management fund arrangement. I cannot provide additional details without proper authorization. Maya hung up slowly. The office felt smaller. The walls seemed to press inward. Victoria was still standing by the window. Her reflection smiled in the glass. Bad news? Victoria asked. Maya didn't answer immediately. Her mind was racing. Family management fund. Authorized representative. Someone had legally taken control of her Social Security benefits. Someone with access to her personal information. Victoria, do you know anything about a family management fund? Should I? The question was perfectly innocent. Too innocent. Victoria's voice carried the same false sweetness she used with difficult clients. Maya opened her laptop. She searched for Family Management Fund Social Security. The results were educational and terrifying. Family management funds were typically used for elderly or incapacitated individuals, people with dementia, Alzheimer's patients, individuals who couldn't manage their own finances. The irony was brutal. Yesterday's Medicare form for dementia screening. Today's discovery about benefit diversion. The timing was too convenient. Too coordinated. Maya searched deeper into the gallery's administrative files. Payroll records, employee benefits, insurance documents. Everything was accessible from her computer. She found what she was looking for in the personnel folder. A document dated 2 weeks ago. Employee benefit modification request. Her name at the top. Her signature at the bottom. But she had never signed this document. Never seen it before. The request authorized benefit consolidation under family management protocols. It redirected her Social Security payments to a joint account, an account she didn't recognize. Maya printed the document. The signature looked authentic. Professional forgery. Someone had practiced her handwriting carefully. Her desk phone rang. The caller ID showed Julian's office number. "Maya, how are you feeling today?" His voice carried unusual concern. Fake warmth. The same tone he used with elderly gallery donors. "I'm fine, Julian. Why? You seemed confused this morning." "About the Medicare paperwork." Confused. The word echoed strangely. Maya had been many things this morning. Suspicious, angry, determined, but not confused. "I'm not confused. I'm investigating." Julian's pause lasted too long. "Investigating what?" "Someone has been redirecting my Social Security benefits. Someone forged my signature on benefit modification forms." "That sounds serious. Perhaps we should discuss this at home." His tone had shifted. Less concern, more control. Like a parent managing a difficult child. "Julian, do you know anything about a family management fund?" "We can talk about this later, Maya." "You sound stressed." "Stressed. First confused, now stressed." Julian was building a vocabulary of incapacity. Creating a verbal foundation for incompetence claims. Maya hung up without saying goodbye. The office felt hostile now. The fluorescent lights seemed brighter. Harsher. The air conditioning noise was louder. She returned to her computer search. This time she looked for Victoria's name in the gallery's financial records. What she found was illuminating. Victoria had been accessing employee benefit information for months. Personnel files, insurance records, Social Security numbers, all under the guise of administrative oversight. Maya printed everything. Pages of evidence. Digital breadcrumbs leading straight to her mother-in-law's desk. She walked to Victoria's office. The door was closed but not locked. Maya turned the handle quietly. Victoria's desk was immaculate. Expensive pen set. Crystal paperweight. Fresh flowers in a silver vase. But the top drawer was slightly open. Maya pulled it wider. Inside were documents. Lots of documents. All related to something called guardianship application for Maya Whitmore. Her hands trembled as she lifted the papers. The application was nearly complete. Medical evaluations. Financial assessments. Character references. Everything needed to declare her legally incompetent. The medical section referenced cognitive decline indicators. Yesterday's Medicare dementia screening was listed as supporting evidence. The financial section detailed her inability to manage complex transactions. Maya photographed every page with her phone. The evidence was overwhelming, systematic, professional. This wasn't a spontaneous plan. It was a carefully orchestrated campaign. Victoria's voice echoed in the hallway. Maya quickly replaced the documents and closed the drawer. She moved to the window and pretended to examine the street below. "Finding everything you need, dear?" Victoria stood in the doorway. Her expression was pleasant, calm, like a predator who knew the trap was already set. "Just checking the view, of course. Though I should mention, your behavior today has been quite concerning." Concerning. Another word for the vocabulary of incompetence. Maya was apparently confused, stressed, and now concerning. In what way? Searching through files. Making accusations. "It's quite unlike you." Victoria moved to her desk. Her hands rested casually near the drawer Maya had been searching, as if she knew exactly what had been discovered. "Perhaps you should take some time off. Rest. Let the family handle things for a while." Family. The word sounded like a threat. Maya understood now. This wasn't about love or care or protection. It was about control. About money. About erasing her from her own life. "I'm not taking time off. That may not be your decision much longer." Victoria's smile was cold, confident, like someone holding all the winning cards. Maya left the office without another word. The hallway stretched endlessly before her. The familiar gallery felt foreign now, hostile. Every painting on the walls seemed to watch her with suspicious eyes. She returned to her own office and locked the door. The evidence was overwhelming. The pattern was clear. Victoria was systematically destroying her independence. Creating documentation for illegal guardianship. Maya touched her platinum North Star necklace. The constellation pattern felt warm against her skin. Her adoptive father's words echoed again. Trust the stars when you can't trust the ground beneath your feet. The ground was definitely unstable. But the stars were still there. Still bright. Still pointing toward truth. Maya opened her laptop and began typing. If Victoria wanted documentation, she would get it. But not the kind she expected. The afternoon light slanted through the office windows. Outside, New York continued its relentless pace. Inside, Maya Whitmore prepared for war. The Medicare card was still missing. The Social Security benefits were still diverted. The guardianship application was still pending. But Maya was no longer confused, stressed, or concerning. She was dangerous. Rain hammered the streets of Manhattan. The October storm had arrived without warning. Maya stood at her office window watching water cascade down the glass. The weather matched her mood perfectly. Dark, turbulent, unpredictable. Her phone buzzed with a text message. Unknown number. Surprise. I'm in New York. Coming to see my daughter for her birthday. Maya's heart stopped. Mrs. Miller. Her adoptive mother from Ohio. The woman who had raised her with more love than money. Who sent care packages filled with homemade cookies and hand-knitted scarves. Maya checked the time. 4:30. Mrs. Miller would arrive during rush hour. In this rain. At the Whitmore mansion where Victoria ruled like an empress. The thought terrified her. Maya grabbed her coat and keys. She needed to intercept her mother before Victoria did. The two women had met only once before. At Maya's wedding. The encounter had been polite but cold. Victoria's disdain for common people was barely concealed. Traffic crawled through the flooded streets. Maya's taxi moved at walking pace. The windshield wipers fought a losing battle against the storm. Every red light felt like an eternity. Her phone rang. Julian. Maya, where are you? Coming home. My mother is visiting. Your mother? His surprise was genuine. Mrs. Miller's visits were rare. The Ohio farm kept her busy. Plus, expensive New York hotels weren't in her budget. Mrs. Miller is coming for my birthday. I see. Well, Victoria is preparing dinner. Should I tell her to set an extra place? The question sounded innocent, but Maya heard the underlying concern. Victoria didn't appreciate unexpected guests. Especially unexpected guests who didn't meet her social standards. Yes, please. Maya hung up and urged the taxi driver to hurry. The brownstone was still 6 blocks away. The rain was getting heavier. She paid the fare and ran toward the front steps. Her heels slipped on the wet stone. The brass door knocker was slick with moisture. Maya fumbled for her keys. Before she could unlock the door, it swung open. Victoria stood in the entrance. Her gray hair was perfectly styled despite the weather. Her expression was glacial. Where have you been? Your guest arrived 20 minutes ago. Guest. Not mother. Not visitor. Guest. Like someone who had overstayed their welcome before even entering. Maya pushed past Victoria into the foyer. The marble floors gleamed under crystal chandeliers. The house smelled of expensive flowers and furniture polish. Everything was pristine, intimidating, designed to impress and exclude. Where is she? I sent her away. The words hit like a physical blow. Maya's stomach dropped. Her hands clenched into fists. What do you mean, you sent her away? Victoria's smile was satisfied, cruel. She was clearly confused, standing on our doorstep like some homeless person. Dripping wet, carrying a basket of rotting fruit. Maya's vision blurred with rage. Mrs. Miller had brought apples from the farm. Her annual birthday gift. Fresh fruit grown with her own hands. Love made edible. Those weren't rotting fruit. They were apples from her orchard. Whatever they were, they're gone now. Along with their owner. Victoria moved toward the living room. Her heels clicked against the marble like punctuation marks. Each step emphasized her total control of this household. Maya ran to the front door and yanked it open. The storm had intensified. Rain fell in sheets across the street. Lightning illuminated empty sidewalks. Mrs. Miller was gone. Maya stepped onto the front steps. Water soaked through her shoes immediately. She called out into the darkness. Mom, Mom, are you there? Only rain answered, and wind, and the distant honking of taxi horns. Maya's phone had 3 missed calls, all from the same Ohio number. She dialed back immediately. Mom? Where are you? Mrs. Miller's voice was small, hurt. I'm at the bus station, honey. I think I made a mistake coming here. What happened? Tell me exactly what happened. That woman answered the door. Your mother-in-law. She looked at me like I was nothing. Said you weren't home. Said I should leave. Maya's hands shook with fury. What else did she say? She called me a peasant. Said her son's wife had no mother. Then she kicked my basket down the stairs. The image was heartbreaking. Mrs. Miller's carefully packed apples scattered across wet concrete, rolling into gutters, ruined by cruelty and rain. She slammed the door in my face. Mrs. Miller continued. I stood there for a while, getting soaked, hoping maybe you'd come home. But nobody came. Maya was crying now, tears mixed with rainwater on her cheeks. Mom, I'm so sorry. I'm coming to get you. No, honey. I already bought a bus ticket back to Ohio. It leaves in an hour. Please don't go. We can figure this out. Maya, I don't belong in your world. That woman made that very clear. The line went quiet except for the sound of bus station announcements in the background. Maya could picture her mother sitting on hard plastic chairs, surrounded by strangers, feeling small and unwanted. I love you, Mom. I love you too, sweetheart. Happy birthday. Maya hung up and stood in the rain. Her expensive clothes were ruined. Her carefully styled hair hung in wet strings. But she didn't care about appearances anymore. Victoria had crossed a line. Attacking Maya was business, family politics. But attacking Mrs. Miller was personal, unforgivable. Maya climbed the front steps slowly. Each footfall felt heavier than the last. The front door was still open. Warm light spilled onto the wet stone. Victoria waited in the foyer. Her expression was triumphant. I hope you understand why that was necessary. Necessary? Maintaining standards. This neighborhood has a reputation to protect. Maya's voice was deadly quiet. That woman raised me, fed me, loved me when no one else would. That woman was a charity case. Just like you were. The words were designed to hurt. To remind Maya of her origins. Of her dependence on the Whitmore family's generosity. But this time, they had the opposite effect. Maya stepped closer to Victoria. Water dripped from her clothes onto the pristine marble. She left muddy footprints across the expensive floor. You want to know something about charity cases? Victoria's confident smile wavered slightly. Charity cases remember kindness. They value love over money. They understand the difference between class and character. Maya touched her platinum North Star necklace. The pendant felt warm against her cold skin. This necklace is the only honest thing in this house. Victoria's laugh was harsh. Honest? That trinket is as fake as your pedigree. Maybe, but it came from someone who loved me. Unlike everything else in this place. Maya climbed the stairs toward her bedroom. Each step echoed in the vast foyer. Victoria's voice followed her upward. You can't run away from reality forever, Maya. You are what we made you. Maya paused at the landing. She looked down at her mother-in-law. The older woman seemed smaller from this height. Less imposing, more pathetic. You're wrong about one thing, Victoria. What's that? You didn't make me. You just tried to break me. There's a difference. Maya continued upstairs. Behind her, Victoria's heels clicked against marble in sharp, angry rhythms. In her bedroom, Maya changed out of her wet clothes. She found her warmest robe. Made herself tea with the electric kettle Julian had bought her last Christmas. Outside, the storm continued. Rain pelted the windows like accusations. Lightning split the sky into jagged pieces. Maya called the bus station. Mrs. Miller's bus had already left. The next one to Ohio wouldn't depart until morning. Her mother was somewhere on I-80, riding through darkness and rain. Carrying the memory of Victoria's cruelty. Maya's reflection stared back from the bedroom window. The woman in the glass looked older than 62. Sadder. More alone. But also angrier. The rain tasted of salt when it touched her lips. Salt and bitter, cold rage. Maya Whitmore had spent 30 years trying to fit into Victoria's world. Trying to earn approval that would never come. Tonight, she stopped trying. The platinum North Star necklace caught the lamplight. The constellation pattern reminded her of navigation. Of finding direction when everything else was chaos. Her adoptive father had taught her about storms. How they revealed true character. How they separated the strong from the weak. Victoria thought she had won tonight. Driven away the peasant. Protected her precious standards. But she had made a crucial mistake. She had hurt the one person Maya loved more than acceptance. More than security. More than peace. Maya touched the necklace again. The North Star was still there. Still bright. Still pointing towards something better. Tomorrow, she would begin following it home. Maya sat in her car outside the bus station. The parking lot was nearly empty. Streetlights cast pools of yellow light across wet pavement. The storm had passed, leaving behind cold air and the smell of rain on concrete. Her hands gripped the steering wheel. Her knuckles were white with tension. The scene with Victoria played in her mind like a broken record. The cruelty. The dismissal. The sound of apples rolling into the gutter. Maya's reflection stared back from the windshield. The woman in the glass looked haunted. Beaten down. Like someone who had lost more than a birthday celebration. She touched her platinum North Star necklace. The pendant felt heavier tonight. Weighted with memory and regret. A homeless man shuffled past her car. He carried a cardboard sign and a worn blanket. Maya watched him disappear into the shadows between buildings. For a moment, she imagined Mrs. Miller in similar circumstances. Alone. Cold. Unwanted. The image made her physically sick. Maya opened the glove compartment. Inside was an old velvet pouch she had forgotten about. Mrs. Miller had given it to her years ago. For safekeeping, she had said. Something from your past that might matter someday. Maya had never opened it. The past was complicated enough without adding more mysteries. Tonight felt different. Tonight felt like the right time for truth. The velvet was soft between her fingers. Worn smooth by decades of handling. Maya loosened the drawstring carefully. Inside was a small silver pendant. Much smaller than her current necklace. More delicate. The metal was tarnished but still beautiful. The constellation pattern was identical to her platinum North Star necklace. Every line, every curve, every tiny star perfectly matched. Maya held both necklaces side by side. The original and the replica. The silver pendant was clearly older. Handcrafted. Unique. The platinum version was beautiful but manufactured. Professional. Expensive. But why make a replica of something so simple? Maya examined the original pendant more closely. Under the streetlight, she could see tiny markings etched into the silver. Numbers. Letters. A pattern she didn't recognize. She took out her phone and searched for Constellation Maps New York. The results showed various astronomical charts. Star patterns. Navigation guides. Then she saw it. The Hoshino family crest. The search result linked to an art auction catalog from 1993. Estate sale Hoshino family collection. Maya clicked on the listing. The catalog showed jewelry, paintings, antiques. And there, on page 17, was her necklace. Both versions. The original silver pendant and a modern platinum interpretation. The description was brief but devastating. North Star navigation pendant. Original 18th century piece created for the Hoshino family estate. Lost during the 1993 family crisis. Believed to contain property coordinates. Property coordinates. Maya's pulse quickened. The tiny markings on the silver pendant weren't decorative. They were functional. A map disguised as jewelry. She searched deeper. Hoshino family 1993 crisis. The results were newspaper articles. Court documents. Society page gossip. The Hoshino family had lost a child in 1993. A 3-year-old daughter who disappeared in Times Square during New Year's Eve celebrations. The little girl was wearing the family's historic North Star pendant when she vanished. Maya's hands began to shake. She searched for more details. The missing child's name was Maya Hoshino. Born December 15, 1990. Disappeared January 1, 1993. Maya Whitmore was born December 15, 1990. Found by the Miller family in early 1993. Wearing a small silver necklace with a star pattern. The coincidence was too perfect. Too complete. Maya stared at the original pendant. The silver surface reflected streetlight like tears. This wasn't just jewelry. It was evidence. Proof of identity. A breadcrumb trail leading back to a family she had never known existed. The math was simple and brutal. She had been Maya Hoshino before she became Maya Miller. Before she became Maya Whitmore. Her entire life was built on a foundation of confusion and lost memory. Maya's phone rang. Julian, where are you? It's past midnight. His voice carried irritation, impatience, like a parent tracking a wayward teenager. I'm coming home. Good. Victoria is concerned about your behavior tonight. Concerned. The word sounded different now. Less caring, more calculating. Julian, what do you know about my adoption? The pause lasted too long. What do you mean? The circumstances. How the Millers found me. What I was wearing. Maya, you're tired. We can discuss this tomorrow. Tired. Another word for Victoria's vocabulary of incompetence. Maya was confused, stressed, concerning, and now tired. I'm not tired. I'm awake for the first time in years. Maya hung up and started the car. The drive home took 15 minutes. 15 minutes to process 30 years of lies. The Whitmore mansion looked different when she pulled into the driveway. Less like home, more like a prison disguised as luxury. Maya entered through the front door. The foyer was dark except for a single lamp. Victoria's doing. She controlled even the lighting in this house. Julian waited in the living room. He wore his expensive pajamas and worried expression. His hair was disheveled from running his hands through it. Maya, we need to talk. She ignored him and climbed the stairs. Julian followed. Victoria told me about your mother's visit. Maya stopped halfway up. My mother? Mrs. Miller. The woman who raised you. The clarification was unnecessary, unless Julian was making a distinction between adoptive mothers and biological mothers. Unless he knew more than he was admitting. What exactly did Victoria tell you? That Mrs. Miller seemed confused, disoriented. Perhaps she's developing dementia. The accusation was vicious. Mrs. Miller was 78 but sharp as a blade. Her mind was clearer than most people half her age. My mother is fine. Are you sure? Sometimes elderly people hide cognitive decline. Julian's voice carried false concern. The same tone doctors used when delivering bad news. Gentle but final. Maya reached her bedroom and locked the door. Julian's footsteps paused outside, then retreated down the hallway. She sat on the bed and opened her laptop. The Hoshino family search results filled the screen. Newspaper articles, court filings, missing person reports. Maya Hoshino had disappeared during New Year's Eve celebrations in Times Square. The crowd was massive, chaotic. In the confusion, a 3-year-old's hand slipped from her mother's grasp. For just 3 seconds. 3 seconds that changed everything. The police searched for months. The Hoshino family offered rewards. Private investigators followed every lead. But Maya Hoshino had vanished completely. Until the Miller family found a confused toddler wandering near their Ohio farm. Wearing a silver necklace with a star pattern. Speaking fragments of what sounded like Japanese. The Millers contacted authorities, but the child couldn't provide her real name or address. Social services classified her as abandoned. The adoption process began immediately. Maya Miller was born from Maya Hoshino's disappearance. Maya stared at the police report photos. A 3-year-old with dark hair and serious eyes. The same eyes that looked back from mirrors 30 years later. She was that child, lost in Times Square, found in Ohio, raised by strangers who became family. The Hoshino family never stopped searching. They established a foundation for missing children, funded private investigators, kept the case active for decades. Maya's biological mother was Evelyn Hoshino. The search results showed recent photos. An elegant woman in her 70s. Successful, wealthy, still hoping for her daughter's return. Still believing that someday, somehow, Maya would come home. Maya touched the silver pendant. The original, the authentic piece of her past that survived everything. Abandonment, confusion, 30 years of lies. The tiny markings were clearer now. Coordinates, property boundaries, a map to the Hoshino estate. A map to her real family. Maya's reflection stared back from the laptop screen. The woman in the glass looked different. Less like an adopted charity case. More like an heiress who had been missing for 30 years. Victoria's words echoed in her memory. You are what we made you. But Victoria was wrong. Maya wasn't made by the Whitmores. She was found by the Millers. Lost by the Hoshinos. She had been someone important long before she became someone grateful. The North Star pattern caught the lamplight. The constellation pointed toward navigation. Toward finding direction when everything else was chaos. Maya Whitmore had been lost for 30 years. Tonight, Maya Hoshino began finding her way home. The morning sun felt different against Maya's face. Warmer, more promising. She stood in her bedroom holding the 2 necklaces. Silver and platinum, past and present. Truth and replica. Sleep had been impossible. Her mind raced through possibilities. Questions. Plans. The discovery of her real identity changed everything. But it also explained nothing. How had she ended up in Times Square? Why was she alone? What happened to separate her from the Hoshino family? Maya dressed carefully, professional but confident. The silver pendant went into her purse. The platinum necklace stayed around her neck. She would need both today. Whitmore Fine Arts felt foreign when she arrived. The familiar gallery spaces seemed smaller, less impressive. Like props in a play she no longer wanted to perform. Maya's office overlooked Madison Avenue. From her window, she could see the constant flow of taxis and pedestrians. The city moved with relentless energy, purpose, direction. She opened her laptop and continued researching. The Hoshino family wasn't just wealthy. They were art collectors, patrons. Their name appeared on museum boards and charity foundations. Most importantly, they owned a significant collection of Asian art. Paintings, sculptures, antiques. The kind of pieces Whitmore Fine Arts specialized in appraising. Maya's pulse quickened. The connection was too convenient to be coincidental. She searched the gallery's client database. H surnames, Ha through HC. Then she found it. Hoshino Foundation. Active client since 2019. Annual appraisals for insurance purposes. Quarterly consultations on acquisitions. Maya had been working with her biological family for 4 years. Professionally, unknowingly. The irony was breathtaking. She opened the Hoshino account files. The collection was extensive, valuable, but what caught her attention was the scheduled appointment for today. Evelyn Hoshino, 2 o'clock. Legacy of Stars exhibition, final appraisal. Maya's hands trembled as she read the details. Evelyn Hoshino was coming to the gallery. Today, in 5 hours. The woman who had lost a daughter 30 years ago would be sitting across from that daughter's desk. Neither knowing the truth, Maya called Victoria's office. I need to handle the Hoshino appointment personally. That's unusual. We typically assign senior appraisals to. I'm handling it personally. Maya hung up before Victoria could argue. This wasn't a request. It was a declaration of independence. She spent the morning preparing, researching the Hoshino collection, understanding the family history, learning about Evelyn's life after losing her daughter. The biographical details were heartbreaking. Evelyn had never remarried after her husband's death in 1995. Never had other children. She dedicated her life to art preservation and missing children's causes. Every charity donation, every foundation grant, every scholarship fund carried the name of her lost daughter. Maya Hoshino lived on in Evelyn's philanthropy. At 145, Maya positioned herself near the gallery entrance. She wore a simple black dress and the platinum necklace. The silver pendant waited in her desk drawer. The front door chimed at exactly 2 o'clock. Maya looked up from her appointment book. Evelyn Hoshino entered like dignity personified. She was smaller than Maya expected, more delicate, but her presence filled the gallery space immediately. Her silver hair was pulled back in an elegant chignon. Her dark coat was expensive but understated. Everything about her suggested quiet power, controlled grace. Maya stood to greet her. Ms. Hoshino? I'm Maya Whitmore. Evelyn's eyes met hers directly. The gaze was penetrating, intelligent, searching. Ms. Whitmore, thank you for accommodating my schedule. Her voice carried a slight accent. Cultured, international. The sound was somehow familiar. Like a song Maya had heard long ago. They walked toward Maya's office. Evelyn moved with careful steps. Her attention wandered to the paintings on the walls, the sculptures in display cases. She examined everything with professional interest. Maya's office felt smaller with Evelyn inside. The older woman chose a chair facing the window. Sunlight illuminated her profile. The resemblance was subtle but undeniable. Same cheekbone structure, same eye shape, same way of tilting her head when thinking. The Legacy of Stars exhibition, Maya began. Evelyn nodded. My late husband's collection. I'm donating it to the Metropolitan Museum. The pieces are extraordinary. They meant everything to him. To us. Evelyn's voice softened. Each piece represents a memory, a journey, a hope. Maya opened the appraisal files. Photographs of paintings, sculptures, jewelry. The collection was museum quality, priceless in both monetary and emotional value. "This necklace is particularly beautiful," Maya said, pointing to a photograph. The image showed a constellation pendant. Gold and diamonds. Elaborate. Expensive. But the pattern was familiar. "The North Star design," Evelyn explained. "My husband had it commissioned. A larger version of our daughter's necklace." Maya's breath caught. "Your daughter? She's been gone for 30 years. Evelyn's fingers traced the photograph gently. Lost in a crowd. A moment of inattention. Everything changed. Maya felt her own necklace warming against her skin. The platinum constellation seemed to pulse with significance. "The pattern is unique," Maya managed. "My husband created it, based on a map. Family property boundaries disguised as jewelry." Evelyn looked up from the photograph. Silly, perhaps, but it made him feel connected to tradition. Property boundaries. Maya's research had been correct. The necklace was functional. A navigation tool disguised as decoration. "May I see the actual piece?" Evelyn reached into her purse. She withdrew a velvet box. Inside was the golden necklace from the photograph. Larger than Maya's platinum version. More elaborate. But the constellation pattern was identical. Maya's platinum necklace swung forward as she leaned over the display case. The movement was unconscious. Natural. Evelyn's eyes fixed on the pendant immediately. Her face went white. "Where did you get that necklace?" The question was sharp. Urgent. Evelyn's composure cracked like thin ice. Maya's hand moved to cover the pendant instinctively. "It was a gift." "From whom?" "My adoptive father. He said it was a replica of something I wore as a child." Evelyn stood slowly. Her chair scraped against the floor. "May I see it more closely?" Maya hesitated. Then she lifted the platinum chain over her head. She placed it next to Evelyn's golden version. The patterns matched perfectly. Star for star. Line for line. The only differences were size and metal. Evelyn's hands shook as she picked up the platinum pendant. "This isn't a replica." "What do you mean?" "This is the prototype. The original design." Evelyn's voice was barely a whisper. "My husband had it made first. Before the final version." She turned the pendant over. On the back were tiny markings. Numbers. Letters. A maker's mark. Tanaka Jewelers. 1990. Evelyn read the inscription aloud. "This was made for my daughter's 3rd birthday." The words hung in the air like electricity. Maya's pulse hammered against her temples. "My daughter was wearing this necklace when she disappeared." Maya's world tilted sideways. The office walls seemed to move. The floor felt unsteady beneath her feet. "That's impossible." Evelyn looked up from the pendant. Her eyes were bright with tears. "What did you say your name was?" "Maya. Maya Whitmore." "Before Whitmore?" "Maya Miller." "Before Miller?" Maya's throat closed. The answer was there, had always been there, hidden under 30 years of confusion and false identity. "I don't remember before Miller." Evelyn reached across the desk. Her fingers touched Maya's cheek gently. "I drew this constellation for my little star. The night before she disappeared." The nickname hit like a physical blow. Little Star. Maya's earliest memory was someone calling her that. A woman's voice. Loving. Desperate. Fading. "Mom?" The word escaped without conscious thought. Automatic. Inevitable. Evelyn's tears fell freely now. "Maya? My Maya?" The recognition was mutual. Immediate. 30 years collapsed into a single moment of understanding. Mother and daughter reached for each other across the desk. Across time. Across all the years of searching and loss. Maya's reflection appeared in the office window. But she wasn't looking at Maya Whitmore anymore. She was looking at Maya Hoshino. The missing child. The lost daughter. The little star who had finally found her way home. The platinum necklace lay between them. No longer a replica. No longer a mystery. It was a map that had finally led to its destination. Outside, New York continued its relentless pace. But inside Maya's office, time had stopped. The 30-year winter was finally beginning to thaw. Evelyn's penthouse overlooked Central Park from 40 floors above the street. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the city like artwork. The apartment smelled of fresh lilies and expensive perfume. Everything was elegant, understated, perfect. Maya sat on a white leather sofa holding a cup of jasmine tea. Her hands had stopped shaking, but her mind still raced. 4 hours had passed since the revelation in her office. 4 hours of tears and explanations and impossible truth. Evelyn moved around the living room like a woman rediscovering her own space. She touched furniture, adjusted flowers, smiled at photographs she hadn't looked at in years. I never changed your bedroom, she said quietly. Maya followed her down a hallway lined with family photos. Evelyn's life documented in silver frames. Business events, charity galas, awards ceremonies. But in every picture, something was missing. Someone was missing. The bedroom door opened onto a shrine to childhood. Toys arranged on shelves. Picture books stacked neatly. A small bed with hand-embroidered pillows. Everything was preserved exactly as a 3-year-old had left it. Waiting, hoping, believing in return. I couldn't let go, Evelyn whispered. Even after the investigators stopped calling. Even after everyone said to move on. Maya touched a stuffed elephant on the dresser. The fabric was soft with age. Mr. Peanuts, she said automatically. Evelyn gasped. You remember? I remember pieces, fragments, like puzzle pieces with most of the box missing. They returned to the living room. Evelyn poured more tea. Her movements were graceful but her hands still trembled slightly. Tell me about the Whitmore family, Evelyn said. Maya chose her words carefully. The truth was complicated, ugly in places. But Evelyn deserved honesty. Julian is my husband. He's not a bad man. Just weak, passive. He lets his mother control everything. And Victoria? Maya's jaw tightened. Victoria Whitmore is a predator. She married into money and never forgot what it felt like to be without it. Evelyn listened without judgment. Her expression was calm but her eyes were sharp. Analytical. Tell me about the Medicare situation. Maya explained everything. The false dementia screening. The diverted Social Security benefits. The forged signatures. The guardianship application hidden in Victoria's desk. She's trying to have me declared incompetent. To steal my inheritance. What inheritance? Maya realized she had never told Evelyn about the gallery. About her professional life. About the money she had earned independently. I'm an art appraiser. Quite successful. My personal assets are worth several $1,000,000. Evelyn's eyebrows rose. Impressive. Victoria discovered my financial situation after Julian and I married. She's been systematically positioning herself to control everything. How? Maya described the family management fund. The benefit diversion. The false medical documentation. Victoria's campaign was sophisticated, professional, legally complex. She almost succeeded, Maya admitted. Evelyn was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was steel wrapped in silk. Victoria Whitmore made a critical error. What's that? She attacked the wrong family. Maya's phone buzzed. Julian was calling. She ignored it. The phone buzzed again. Text message. Where are you? Victoria is concerned. Concerned. The word had lost all meaning. Victoria's concern was self-serving. Calculating. Worthless. Maya typed back, I'm fine. Don't wait up. Evelyn watched the exchange. May I see the guardianship documents? Maya pulled out her phone and showed the photographs she had taken from Victoria's desk. Page after page of legal paperwork. Medical evaluations. Financial assessments. Evelyn studied each image carefully. Her expression grew darker. This is elder abuse, she said finally. Financial exploitation. Medicare fraud. Identity theft. Can you prove it? Evelyn smiled for the first time since they'd met. The expression transformed her face completely. Maya, you have no idea who you're related to now. She made a phone call. The conversation was brief, professional. When she hung up, her smile had widened. My attorney is driving over with some documents. I think you'll find them interesting. 20 minutes later, the doorbell rang. A well-dressed man in his 50s entered carrying a leather briefcase. He moved with the confidence of someone accustomed to solving expensive problems. Maya, this is Robert Chen. My personal attorney. Robert shook Maya's hand warmly. I've heard so much about you. For 30 years. He opened his briefcase and withdrew a thick folder. Evelyn asked me to bring some background information on the Whitmore family. The folder contained financial records, court documents, private investigator reports, background checks dating back decades. We investigated everyone who came into contact with you, Robert explained. Including the family you married into. Maya opened the folder. The information was devastating. The Whitmore family was bankrupt. Had been for years. They maintained their lifestyle through a complex web of loans and credit manipulation. The gallery was mortgaged beyond its value. The brownstone was collateral for multiple debts. Victoria's guardianship plan wasn't just about controlling Maya's assets. It was about using those assets to cover the Whitmore family's debts. They're using your identity to hide their insolvency, Robert explained. Once Victoria gains legal guardianship, she can transfer your assets to pay their obligations. Maya felt sick. How much do they owe? Approximately $8 million. The number was staggering, more than Maya's personal net worth. Enough to destroy her financially even if she escaped Victoria's legal trap. There's more, Robert continued. He withdrew another document. Julian signed a marriage contract that makes you responsible for family debts. Maya read the contract carefully. The language was complex but the meaning was clear. Marriage to Julian made her liable for Whitmore family obligations. Past, present, and future. I never saw this document. It was filed after your wedding. Without your signature. Another forgery. Evelyn leaned forward. What are our options? Robert's smile was predatory. We destroy them. He explained the strategy. Evelyn's resources were vast. Her legal team was exceptional. Her connections included judges, prosecutors, and federal investigators. Medicare fraud is a federal crime. Identity theft is a federal crime. Elder abuse is a state crime with serious penalties. What about the marriage contract? Fraudulent. Unenforceable. We'll have it voided within a week. Maya's head spun. 30 years of being powerless. Of accepting other people's decisions. Of being grateful for scraps. Now she was connected to real power. Real resources. Real family. There's one more thing, Evelyn said quietly. She handed Maya another document. It was a copy of Evelyn's will. Recent. Updated. Maya's name was listed as primary beneficiary. The Hoshino estate was worth approximately $200 million. Maya stared at the number. The zeros multiplied on the page like stars in a clear sky. I don't want your money, she said automatically. It was always your money, Evelyn replied. I was just keeping it safe. Maya's phone rang. Julian again. This time she answered. Maya, you need to come home immediately. Why? Victoria collapsed. She's in the hospital. The concern in his voice sounded genuine. For once. What happened? Heart palpitations. Stress. The doctors want to keep her overnight for observation. Maya looked at Evelyn, then at Robert, then at the documents spread across the coffee table. I'll be there soon. She hung up and gathered the papers. Evidence of fraud. Proof of identity theft. Documentation of conspiracy. Are you ready for this? Evelyn asked. Maya touched her platinum necklace. The North Star pattern caught the apartment's subtle lighting. For 30 years, it had been pointing toward this moment. This choice. This chance for justice. I've been ready for 30 years. I just didn't know it. Evelyn embraced her gently. Welcome home, little star. Maya left the penthouse carrying more than documents. She carried the weight of her real identity. The power of her true family. The certainty of her actual worth. Victoria Whitmore was about to discover who she had really been trying to steal from. Maya entered the hospital smelling of jasmine perfume and carrying a leather briefcase. The fluorescent lights were harsh after Evelyn's elegant apartment. Everything here was clinical, sterile, designed for emergencies rather than comfort. Julian waited in the cardiac care lobby. He looked exhausted, worried, more human than he had seemed in months. How is she? Maya asked. Stable. The doctors think it was stress-related. Her blood pressure spiked around 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock. Exactly when Maya had been reviewing Victoria's fraudulent documents with Robert Chen. The timing was poetic. Can I see her? Julian hesitated. She's been asking for you. But Maya, she's very weak. Maybe don't upset her tonight. Don't upset her. Maya almost laughed. Victoria had been systematically destroying Maya's life for months. But Maya was supposed to provide comfort in Victoria's moment of vulnerability. I'll be gentle. Room 314 was private. Expensive. Victoria lay in the narrow bed connected to monitoring equipment. The machines beeped steadily, reassuringly. Her gray hair was disheveled. Her face was pale without makeup. She looked older than Maya had ever seen her. More fragile. Almost human. Maya. Victoria's voice was barely above a whisper. Come closer. Maya approached the bed cautiously. She set her briefcase on the visitor's chair. I'm glad you're feeling better. Victoria's eyes focused with effort. Are you? The question was sharp despite her weakness. Even in a hospital bed, Victoria was suspicious. Calculating. Of course. Your family. Family. Victoria repeated the word like it tasted bitter. Yes. We are family, aren't we? Maya studied Victoria's expression. Something was different. Less controlled. More desperate. Julian told me you had questions, Victoria continued. About your adoption. About your past. Maya's pulse quickened. What about my past? Victoria struggled to sit up higher in the bed. The movement was painful but determined. I knew who you were when Julian brought you home. The words hit like cold water. What do you mean? Maya Hoshino, the missing child. I recognized you from the newspaper photos. Maya's hands clenched involuntarily. You knew? I knew the Hoshino family was offering a substantial reward for information about their missing daughter. The truth was worse than Maya had imagined. Victoria hadn't just discovered Maya's identity recently. She had known for years. From the beginning. Why didn't you tell them? Victoria's smile was weak but venomous. Because you were more valuable to me than their reward. Maya felt sick. Valuable how? The Hoshino fortune. Eventually, you would inherit everything. As my daughter-in-law, I could control that inheritance. The plan was breathtakingly cruel. Victoria had prevented a family reunion to position herself as Maya's legal guardian. She had stolen 30 years of Maya's life with her biological mother. You monster. Victoria's laugh was a rasp. Monster? I provided for you, sheltered you, gave you social standing. You imprisoned me. I invested in you. Victoria's voice strengthened. Every dollar spent on your education, your clothes, your wedding, it was all an investment in the Hoshino fortune. Maya opened her briefcase. She withdrew the legal documents Robert had prepared. Federal charges, Medicare fraud, identity theft, elder abuse. Your investment didn't pay off. Victoria's eyes widened as Maya spread the papers across the hospital bed. What is this? Your arrest warrant. It will be served tomorrow morning. Victoria struggled to read the documents. Her hands shook with more than medical weakness. This is impossible. You can't prove anything. Maya withdrew her phone. She showed Victoria the photographs from the desk drawer. The guardianship application. The forged signatures. The Medicare documentation. I can prove everything. Victoria's heart monitor began beeping faster. The stress was registering in real time. Maya, you don't understand what you're doing. I understand perfectly. You tried to steal my identity. My family. My inheritance. My life. Maya leaned closer to the bed. Her voice was deadly quiet. But you made one crucial mistake. What mistake? You hurt my real mother. The woman who raised me with love instead of calculation. Victoria's face twisted with rage and fear. That peasant woman? She's nothing. She's everything. And when you kicked her into the rain, you showed me who you really are. Maya gathered the documents. Tomorrow morning, FBI agents will arrest you for Medicare fraud. Federal prosecutors will charge you with identity theft. The state will pursue elder abuse charges. Victoria tried to sit up straighter. The monitors beeped alarmingly. Julian will never allow this. Julian doesn't have a choice. The evidence is overwhelming. Maya moved toward the door. Then she paused. There's one more thing you should know. Victoria waited. I found my real family today. My biological mother. She has resources you can't imagine. Maya's smile was cold. The Hoshino family doesn't just have money, Victoria. They have power, connections, influence. What are you saying? I'm saying you picked the wrong family to steal from. Maya left room 314 without looking back. Victoria's voice followed her down the hallway, calling her name, making threats, promising revenge. But the words were empty, powerless. Victoria Whitmore's 30-year reign was ending. Maya found Julian in the lobby. He looked up hopefully. How is she? Informed. Maya's single word carried finality. Julian's hope faded quickly. Informed about what? Maya handed him a copy of the arrest warrant. Julian read it twice. His face went white. Maya, we can work this out. No, we can't. She's family. She was never family. She was a predator wearing a family mask. Julian's hands shook as he held the legal documents. What happens now? Now you decide who you are. Victoria's son or your own man. Maya walked toward the hospital exit. The automatic doors opened into cool night air. The city sparkled beyond the parking garage. Her phone buzzed. Text message from Evelyn. How did it go? Maya typed back, "Justice is coming." She drove through Manhattan streets toward an uncertain future. Behind her, the hospital held a broken woman learning the cost of cruelty. Ahead, a penthouse held a reunited family planning a new beginning. Maya touched her platinum necklace. The North Star pattern caught the dashboard lights. After 30 years of misdirection, she was finally following the right map. Tomorrow would bring arrests, court dates, media attention, the complete destruction of Victoria's carefully constructed lies. But tonight, Maya Hoshino was driving home to her real mother. 6 months later, Maya stood in her new restoration studio overlooking Central Park. The space was bright and airy. Nothing like the dark elegance of the Whitmore mansion. Sunlight streamed through tall windows onto work tables covered with antique clocks and vintage jewelry. She was working on a 1920s Cartier timepiece. The mechanism was delicate, complex, but repairable. Like so many broken things, it just needed patience and the right tools. Julian sat at a nearby table polishing silver picture frames. He had moved out of his mother's house 3 weeks after her arrest. Divorced Victoria's influence the same way Maya had divorced him. Cleanly, completely, with relief. "Hand me the tiny screwdriver," Maya said. Julian passed the tool without looking up from his work. Their friendship was new, fragile, built on mutual recognition of past mistakes. Victoria was serving 18 months in minimum security federal prison. Medicare fraud, identity theft, elder abuse. The judge had been thorough, unsympathetic. The Hoshino family's legal team had been devastating. The criminal trial made national news for 2 weeks. The inheritance thief became tabloid shorthand for Victoria's scheme. But the media attention faded quickly. Other scandals emerged. Other stories took precedence. Maya preferred the quiet aftermath. The daily routine of restoration work. The slow process of rebuilding trust and relationships. The studio door opened with a soft chime. Mrs. Miller entered carrying a basket of fresh apples and homemade cookies. Her monthly visit from Ohio. "How are my girls doing today?" Maya looked up from the Cartier clock. Her adoptive mother's voice still warmed her like sunshine. "We're good, Mom. Learning patience." Mrs. Miller examined Julian's silver polishing work. "Looking professional, young man." Julian smiled. "Maya's a good teacher." The three of them had formed an unlikely family unit. Mrs. Miller provided wisdom and cookies. Julian offered practical help and genuine remorse. Maya supplied direction and determination. Evelyn arrived 15 minutes later. She moved through the studio like she owned it. Which she did. The space was her gift to Maya. A place to build new traditions while honoring old crafts. "Tea time," Evelyn announced. The four of them gathered around a small table near the windows. Central Park spread below them like a green carpet. The city hummed with afternoon energy. Mrs. Miller poured tea from a ceramic pot she had brought from Ohio. Evelyn served delicate sandwiches from an expensive caterer. Julian arranged cookies on mismatched plates. Maya watched her family with quiet satisfaction. Biological mother and adoptive mother sitting together. Ex-husband learning humility. Everyone finding their place in a new configuration. "I have news," Evelyn said. She withdrew an official-looking document from her purse. Maya recognized the Social Security Administration letterhead. "Your foundation application was approved." Maya had used her restored inheritance to establish the Maya Hoshino Miller Foundation. The organization protected senior citizens from financial abuse, provided legal assistance, funded investigations. Victoria's victims were the foundation's first beneficiaries. "We can help people," Maya said simply. "We can help lots of people," Evelyn agreed. Maya opened her desk drawer and withdrew 2 necklaces. The original silver pendant from her childhood. The platinum replica that had guided her home. She placed them side by side in a glass frame. Past and present, lost and found. The complete constellation. "For the wall?" Mrs. Miller asked. "For remembering," Maya replied. She hung the frame near the window where afternoon light would catch the metal. The North Star pattern sparkled against the white background. Julian cleared his throat. "I have something too." He handed Maya an envelope. Inside was a check from the sale of the Whitmore mansion. Half the proceeds. His voluntary contribution to her foundation. "You don't have to do this," Maya said. "Yes, I do." Julian's voice was steady. I can't undo 30 years of passivity. But I can support 30 years of healing. Maya endorsed the check immediately. The foundation's account would double overnight. Mrs. Miller refilled everyone's teacups. What's next for our family? Maya considered the question. 6 months ago, she had been Maya Whitmore, trapped in someone else's story, grateful for scraps of affection. Today she was Maya Hoshino Miller. Complete name, complete identity, complete family. Next, we keep working, she said. Keep healing, keep helping, keep remembering, Evelyn added. Keep believing, Mrs. Miller concluded. Julian nodded silently. His contribution was action rather than words. Maya returned to the Cartier timepiece. The mechanism was almost complete. Just a few tiny adjustments. Then it would tell time accurately again. Like her own life. Broken for decades. Lost in confusion and manipulation. But repairable with patience and the right tools. The foundation. The studio. The family. All tools for healing. Maya's reflection appeared in the clock's crystal face. The woman looking back was older than the confused bride who had married into the Whitmore family. Wiser than the grateful daughter-in-law who had accepted abuse as love. She was Maya Hoshino Miller. Survivor. Heiress. Protector of others who couldn't protect themselves. The afternoon light slanted through the studio windows. Outside, Central Park was turning golden with early autumn. Inside, 4 people who had found each other despite impossible odds shared tea and cookies and quiet conversation. Maya touched her platinum necklace. The North Star pattern caught the light like a promise. Like a map that had finally led to its destination. Home wasn't a place. It was the people who chose to love you. Who fought for you. Who celebrated your healing. Maya had been lost for 30 years. Now she was found. Not just by family, but by purpose. The Cartier clock ticked to life. Perfect timing restored. Like everything else in Maya's new world. Life doesn't end just because it breaks once. What falls apart can be the very place where we learn to stand again. If this story gave even a small moment of strength to someone out there, then everything I went through means something today. If this resonated with you, please like and subscribe, and share a piece of your own story in the comments below. Your words might become the seed of the next chapter we create together. Thank you for spending this time with me.